Joining us now from the West Bloomfield Police Department is Curt Lawson. Curt, good morning. Everybody okay?
Good morning, Dave. Our officers are safe. Unfortunately, we had an incident last night, began around 1:12 a.m. We received a 911 call from a resident at the 6,000 block of Chase Court, and he's stated that there's multiple gunshots in front of his house. A couple minutes later, we received a second 911 call from a homeowner that stated he had been shot multiple times. We received a third 911 call that a dark colored Dodge Charger was fleeing the area. So our officers were there very quickly. We were able to stabilize the scene, confirm that the resident unfortunately had been shot several times. A second subject that we've identified as a suspect was fatally shot inside the garage area of that residence. And then about a mile away at 1:25 a.m., with the assistance of the Farmington Hills Police Department, our patrol officers were able to stop a vehicle, a black Dodge Charger, to stop at 14 Mile and Drake. And the driver got out, listened to the officer's commands, and was taken into custody. And it was determined that he, in fact, had a gunshot wound himself. And we did recover a handgun from inside the vehicle. He was later transported to a local hospital. So definitely had a busy night here in West Bloomfield, but I want to let the residents know that at this current time, we're looking for no other suspects. We don't believe any other suspects were involved. Everyone's accounted for, but unfortunately, we did have an individual lose their life last night.
Well, a very unfortunate incident right in our own backyard. And let's be honest, I get right to the point. All this further complicated by what's been happening the past couple of days. West Bloomfield police officers had to respond last night to a very critical situation. You can imagine the police officers' adrenaline is running high when they hear coming over their radio shots fired, and they're responding to a scene, and then they have to pursue one of those people that was involved in the incident, pull them over and arrest them. And it all went well. But can you talk through some of the specifics of that? And I don't think we would normally be talking about this to such degree, but the suspects were African-American, and these are the times we're living in and the news that we're living in right now. Can you elaborate on how that arrest went down?
Well, I did talk to the sergeant that was on the scene that made the initial traffic stop of the Dodge Charger. Like you said, he was fully aware that the driver, when he exited the vehicle, is African American. But things are happening very quickly. In his training, it took over, and he did everything he was supposed to do with the verbal commands. And the driver listened to the verbal commands, and he was safely taken into custody. But that's one of the things that we're concerned about as leaders in law enforcement is, unfortunately, with everything going on, and I think a lot of it is positive. We want to have police reform, and that's all great, and we're for that. But we don't want the officers to second guess themselves. We train them. They have a high degree of training here in West Bloomfield, and then thankfully last night that training took over. The officers didn't second guess themselves. We got everybody into custody very quickly and resolved the situation. Now, this investigation is not going to be done after an hour like it is on TV. This is going to take several weeks. We've collected a lot of evidence. We've executed a lot of search warrants. We don't know what the motive of this was, and we're not going to speculate at this time.
Right, but the person that you apprehended was one of the shooters last night. You knew he was armed, and fortunately in this situation, the individual who's arrested didn't put up a fight and complied with the requests from the police officers on the scene.
Correct.
That, yes, and a simple correct from Curt Lawson says, you say so much in your simple, calm answer. You do. I mean, everyone is responsible for getting this right as we go forward. So clearly, I don't want to focus on the arrest any more than necessary, but it is news today. So I appreciate you engaging in that. You don't have too many shootings in West Bloomfield to deal with, do you, Curt Lawson?
No, West Bloomfield is one of the safest communities in the state of Michigan. We've routinely, year after year, been in the top 20, sometimes in the top 10. But thanks to our residents, this police department is prepared to deal with situations like this. We have some of the most advanced technology within our investigations unit of any police department in the state, to the point we've actually had the Secret Service come to us to use some of our technology. So we'll be able to access some of the electronics that we've taken as evidence within the next week, where some departments that could take 6 months. So we're going to move forward with this investigation, and I just want to thank the residents for their support. And unfortunately, we had this incident. It's an incident that doesn't happen that often, like you said, in West Bloomfield, but we're going to be able to deal with it in a very professional manner and go about our business.
Curt Lawson is the West Bloomfield Township Police Information Officer, Deputy Police Chief. Curt, do you have any information as you begin to investigate this at this point? If these people knew each other, what kind of background you might have on them?
So that's what's going to take some time. Is there's a lot of different scenarios, and we don't want to speculate. We did interview the resident, the owner of the house here in West Bloomfield, and he stated he did not know these individuals. But obviously, we have to do our research and our due diligence. And at the end of the day, we'll find out what the motive was, and we'll present that to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office.
Did you, and I don't know if you could talk about this or not yet. When there's gunfire and then gunfire happens outside of a residence, you wonder and fear whether there were stray bullets that were found around the rest of the neighborhood. Were there a lot of shots fired in this exchange? Do you have any idea of how many shots were fired and whether some of those rounds ended up elsewhere, maybe in neighboring homes, or could have put anybody else in danger?
I didn't actually go to the scene, and neither did the chief. Our job is to let our people do their work and kind of stay away and sit in our office and drink Starbucks and kind of oversee and make sure they have the tools to get their job done. So I wasn't actually at the scene, but it's my understanding, talking to the detectives, that there was multiple rounds fired. All three individuals involved in this incident were firing their weapons. So multiple rounds.
All right. And I almost hesitate to ask this, but I have to, because it wasn't too long ago that we lost an officer in West Bloomfield. And when you have a shooting scene, a live shooting scene in your department, the memories and some of the challenges and the risk that police officers take every day, they have to come to mind, Curt Lawson.
Well, certainly when my phone rings in the middle of the night, and I'm told that there's possibly multiple shootings within the township. The first thing is, you're kind of breathless. Your heart stops because you're thinking about your officers and you want to make sure that they're okay. But fortunately, in this circumstance, all of our people are safe. They're okay. The fact that we spend so much on training really pays off in situations like this.
And what would be customary, and I know you got a lot of other things to go and you've been to do it all night, so we'll let you go in a minute, but what would be customary with an officer or officers who've been involved in a situation like this? Do you take them off the streets for a little while? Do they get a chance to regroup? There's got to be some post-mortem stress that they're feeling right now.
Well, here we are, maybe 9 hours since the incident began. Most of those officers that were involved in that incident are still writing their reports. They will be allowed to go home and get some rest, and then they will return for a debrief. And we'll debrief as a group, and we'll talk about what we did right, what we could have done better, and make it a learning experience for all of us.
All right. Well, terrible situation. Job well done by the West Bloomfield Police Department. And going out here, I just want to say that, people that are talking about taking funding away from police departments and minimizing the capabilities of police departments, I think today is a really good lesson to see why we need a fully capable, well-trained police department in all of our municipalities around the country.
You're right. I mean, I fall on the side of, I think there needs to be some police reform. I don't believe that as many police departments are up to the standards that we are as need to be. I think we all need to be at a very high level playing field. But defunding the police, that's not the answer.
Curt Lawson, well said. He is the West Bloomfield Township Public Information Officer, Deputy Police Chief. and a great guy who needs a nap. So we're going to let you go. Thank you for your time this morning, and I'm so glad everybody's okay. At
Thanks,
least
Dave.
from, and certainly our well wishes to anyone who perished in the incident. Curt, thank you very much.